Pulse Bomb gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Homan. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am BlazzinBob, and today I have two special guests, first of which is Dallas superfan Mel. What's going on? How you doing?
Listen, first of all, you didn't change my nameplate like I asked you to. So I'm even more upset, but my head hurts because I have this stupid symbol on it.
Yeah, Mel lost the Battle for Texas bet that we made on the show last week, so
That was stupid.
she is wearing the Dallas hat. I can't remember, how many weeks do you have to wear that?
No, just one. Let's not get carried away here.
Definitely, if we're wrong on that, definitely tweet at us, because I don't remember. I thought it was
Let's
for a
not.
few weeks, but definitely
No.
tweet at us.
It's
Sure,
definitely
Edna
not.
remembers.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Oh, but also we have Labasco back on the show, caster extraordinaire and star on Push the Point podcast. What's going on, Lobo?
Oh, just enjoying another weekend of Overwatch that we had. Was also playing, since you mentioned Ednar, his podcast dropping spicy. I'm giving him a drop here. Look at him. Which is a
Don't
Apex
do that for
Legends
him.
podcast. I know I shouldn't, but I was in a tournament for the podcast, and we had a pretty good performance. I was with Ja and Kinder, so I don't know if we won or not yet. We'll find out, I think, later today. But we played really well. It was a lot of fun. So it was a good weekend for me, I would say.
Nice. And I hear you're back to casting contenders once again.
Yep, Contenders China. I'm doing that with Kenobi. Him and I are one of the pairs, along with Nekra and Rich Rad, who I think are going to be doing the next games coming up for Contenders China on Friday. I want to say it's this Friday. And
Nekra.
then
I haven't seen her in forever. We need to get her on the show. I need to reach out.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. It's hard to keep everything in order,
She's a busy gal, but I'm sure she would love to come on. I have no doubt that she would enjoy getting to talk Overwatch with you guys. So, yeah, they're up next, and then I think it might be back around to Paul Sabol and LaFon too. So we got like a super good group for Contenders China, and it was a lot of fun the weekend that Kenobi and I got to do. So I'm excited that I get to be back doing Contenders broadcasts again. It's a wild state of Contenders right now in a lot of the other regions with some of the announcements, which I know we're going to be talking about some of them here soon. So it's I'm glad I get to do it. That's the important part, right?
Hey, man.
It's very wishful thinking if you think we're going to talk about anything Contenders. But hey, you're here, so go for it.
Well,
Not in detail, but the news of teams dropping out, I think, is
pretty big. Yeah, we're definitely gonna touch on that because you're wearing some gear that pertains to that, Mel.
Yep.
So okay, well, let's just go ahead and jump right in the show, unless anybody wants to talk about their woes with quarantine.
Nope. I think Kookie, was it Kookie that said it best? He was like, they asked him like how the quarantines affected them, and he's like, well, I think as gamers, we're pretty good with this. I'm not sure it's I was like,
it's not wrong. Not wrong.
Yep. Yeah, well,
like, this just gives us an excuse not to leave the house, right?
yeah,
Right. Now we have an excuse to stay inside. Exactly.
Oh yeah, I've been playing a lot of games, a lot of Final Fantasy VII. Loving that game. I already beat it. I'm halfway through hard mode. But you've been playing a lot of Valorant though too, haven't you?
Yeah, Valorant's been one that I've been doing a lot. There's getting to play a lot with friends like Blevins and Deathblow and those guys. Ramses has been trying to learn how to aim, so it's fun. It's a lot.
Is Ramses or Blevins better?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Listen, I played Overwatch with Blevins. Okay.
We've definitely played with both of them.
I think Blevins has more of a mind for the game, but like Ramses
Fair.
will sit in places with a shotgun, and it's like you don't really need to be able to aim sometimes to hit with that. So it's you know what? We should make them both play against each other, like have them be team captains or something, and see who wins, because it would be a really close game, probably.
Great. 1v1.
All right, well let's jump into the show. We always like to start the show off by thanking our recap producer Shazir. Thank you, sir. We're gonna just jump right into the news. So, Coke Energy sweepstakes and instant win game. What is this, Mel?
Well, Coke announced that they're running a like prize thing where if you buy a Coke Energy, but you have to buy it from like Circle K or Holiday Station store. I don't know what the heck that is, but whatever. If you buy a 12 fluid ounce Coke Energy, then you get to enter into winning a potential trip to BlizzCon, which may or may not happen, but they're banking on it, or a bunch of other cool prizes.
You know what my
Starting to give people a
favorite?
heads up.
You know what my favorite thing about the Coke Zero version of their energy drink is? If you read it on the can, it says Coke Zero Energy. I mean, it's kind of like selling the opposite way. Coke Zero Energy. Not
Yeah,
Coke
would you like
Zero
to go to bed?
Energy, but Coke Zero Energy. It's pretty funny.
That made me think of like the commercial for Coke Zero Energy, where it's Scorsese and what's his name? I can't think of the actor that's in there as well. But he's like, is he gonna go party with Scorsese?
Oh yeah, the Super Bowl was, yeah.
It was so stupid, and it was like, oh, wasn't Scorsese the guy talking about like selling out and stuff and doing things for the masses, but in like saying that with the Marvel movies and whatever, and here he is doing a Coke commercial. It's like, come on, dude, talk about hypocritical.
I think it was kind of the joke. I think he was going for something there, but I don't know if he hit
Missed
on
the
it.
mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he missed the mark a little bit there for sure.
It's all right. It's all
Now,
right.
something I saw interesting is you could win one of 13 trips to BlizzCon 2020, which
Yeah, I said
many
that.
people have speculated there's not going to be one.
See, this just goes to show that Bob doesn't listen to me because I already brought this up.
Did
I
you
think they're
bring
just-
that part up, though?
Yeah, they're just banking on it happening, apparently. Like, whatever. What do they lose if people win it and it doesn't happen? Like, sorry.
You get a cash equivalent then, right?
Yeah, I don't
right?
think that's in the rules. Read the fine print.
I'm assuming if it doesn't happen, it'll be digital, and you'll just get that digital pass that you can buy every year.
Yeah, but like
$50.
if you win it, they give you round trip air transportation for 3 nights in a hotel room, ground transportation between the airport and the hotel, and 2 tickets to BlizzCon with backstage tour.
And I'm guessing you would get a hotel room in the Hilton, which is the creme
It
de la
says it's
creme.
sponsor's choice of hotel. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Well,
I don't
then you
know,
might not.
but it's nutty. I mean, they're also giving out. I mean, they're giving out a lot of different things. They're giving out like $200 at the Overwatch League e-gift card shop. They're giving out like Overwatch League team jersey. They're giving out a lot, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's just nice to see that something like at a Circle K could give you something in the Overwatch League. I think that's good marketing.
Yeah. I don't know that there's any Circle K's close to us. There's a ton of 7-Elevens.
I don't know. I don't go outside anymore,
I was
so
gonna say, I think it's Shell's, right? Shell gas stations are the ones that have Circle K's.
yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
So if you've got any Shell gas stations or Holiday gas stations, I think Missouri. We're I don't remember. Are you guys are still in
We're in
Colorado?
Colorado,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're
So
still
I
in
don't know about
Denver.
Colorado though. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I don't
tons
know.
back in Kansas City.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
There
know
was a
Kansas
bunch
City's got them.
Yeah, there was a bunch in the Springs. I just don't know if I've seen them here in Denver.
Yeah. Do you
That's
guys
all
have
right.
Holiday
I'll
gas
stop by
stations?
one. I don't know what that is.
Never even heard of
so
that.
No.
It's like it's just a gas station. It's basically the same thing as the Circle K's.
I've heard of
Just
Come and Goes. Those are all through Nebraska.
Holidays are like kind of all over the place. Like there's some in the South. I remember seeing one in Minnesota. Like they're all over.
And then
Like
the best gas station of any gas stations anywhere in the world, Quick Trip. If you've
Quick
never,
Trips are good.
yeah, Quick Trips are amazing.
They got everything.
They literally have everything. It's like they took the idea of 7-Eleven and they just like monsters like sized it. I mean, they are the best. They're clean and all their employees are happy. Did you know QT employees don't have a change indicator? They actually do the math in their head right there and hand you the cash back. Look, the next time you go, yeah, there's no, it doesn't, the cash register doesn't tell them what change to provide.
That's interesting, especially because it's like, how much longer are we going to be using cash for anyway? Like other countries are using their phones to pay for everything. Like I think in China, you do literally everything with your phone.
Yeah, and
Like,
when
we get that way.
When we were in Stockholm, most places did not accept cash or coin. It was card only.
I believe it.
You could also only buy liquor at one specific place.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. That one's a little rough.
Yeah, there's
It's
one
like government run.
Yeah, there's one store that has a monopoly on all liquor.
And they're closed on the weekend. Like, I'm sorry.
It was definitely
What?
interesting, yeah.
Like, you close, like, if anything, close during the week or something. Like, don't close on the weekend.
The only thing worse than that is going to a dry county.
Oh,
yeah.
listen, I used to travel to Oklahoma all the time.
Oh,
And Oklahoma is the worst. First of all, you can't even go to a restaurant and get anything above like 3.2 beer unless they have a special license.
wow.
Second off, they will not sell cold alcohol. And I'm like,
Gross.
mister, I just want to take it back to my hotel and drink it when I get there. If I'm that much of an alcoholic that you think I'm going to drink it on the way home because it's cold, then I'd probably drink it warm anyways. So like, just give it to me cold. Like,
she's
I don't understand.
she's talking about the liquor stores though, not the restaurants. Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Still,
But restaurants are stupid. And they had smoking sections in restaurants and sold 3.2 beer. I'm like, you guys are so messed up right now.
Yeah,
the South's an interesting place.
Well, it's especially Oklahoma. I mean, that's also where the Tiger King's from, so you'd expect it to be special. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Wait, which one of the people from Tiger King? The
main guy.
The Tiger King. No, the God, what was his name? The one that
Joe.
The dude with the
had the sidearm and the mullet.
God, yeah. I think he's the one who's in Vegas, right? I think his
no, it's in Oklahoma.
Oh, he's in jail.
His place was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's in jail now.
Wow.
But he was in Oklahoma.
That's wild. I don't know. I'd watch like part of episodes of that because those people were they were too much. Like, my God, they're all crazy.
It was fantastic, man.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. You should definitely watch it.
I mean, you literally just watch it just so you're like,
I can't.
It's not that bad.
I
feel like I'm doing pretty good.
I was watching it and I was like, these people are making so much money doing this crap. This is crazy. These people are nuts. How are they not all in jail?
Oh, it's definitely weird. Definitely weird.
It was very weird. I was just like, no, thank you.
So
thank you.
Another weird thing is the Overwatch League May tournament that was announced yesterday. I think it's all cool, except for the one thing I don't understand, and I'll let Mel go over what exactly is going on, but he said something about it playing in to the regular season standings and end of the year standings, and that was the part I don't understand. But Mel, why don't you just go over the main rules, and then if you understand, please enlighten me.
Yeah, so it's basically a May tournament, which I think is in place of the mid-season tournament that they were going to have, but couldn't have anymore. So I think they're doing this instead. So the first 3 weeks of May, all the teams will play their qualifier matches. So all the teams in NA will play 3 matches, and all the teams in Asia will play 4. And they'll have 2 regional tournaments. So the NA teams will play and the Asia teams will play. So they're not going to mix them because they're online, and that's awful. But they'll have those 2 different tournaments. There won't be hero pools during the tournament, but there will be hero pools during the qualifier matches. So the first 3 weeks of May will still have hero pools, but the tournament will not, which is the same as the midseason tournament was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
The differences for this is the higher seeded team is going to pick the first map. The losing team of each map will pick the next map. And for most of the matches, it'll be first to 3 maps wins. And for the finals, it'll be first to 4 maps wins. So there's a lot more teams in the North America region than there are in the Asian region. Almost twice as many. -1. But that does mean that
-2.
Vancouver Titans is going back to North America, which is delaying them from playing anymore, conveniently, because they're a hot mess. But, whatever. I feel like if they were already over there and they weren't going to delay anyways, they would have just played in the Asian region. Like, I don't understand why they're coming back to North America. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's all confusing.
Yeah. I think they can't feel the team right now, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a weird storyline there that I haven't heard much on since. But does anybody here understand what he meant when he said it's going to play into the season standings and to the finals? Because that part I didn't get.
So the way that it plays into the actual season standings is depending on where you finish in the tournament, you have the potential of getting wins added on to your win total. So if you win the championship of your region, you'll get 3 additional wins on your record. So there is incentive to win this, not just because of money, but also because it can help considerably in the standings for a team. So say, for instance, I know she's not wearing a hat because of a bet, but if the Houston Outlaws that Mel loves so much were to win the tournament, they would get 3 additional wins. I think that puts them like right at 500. Like that significantly boosts their chances of getting into the end season tournament by having those additional wins. So there's incentive for all of the teams to really try and get this. If you're a team at the top, you can get a stranglehold on, like say Shanghai wins Asia, like then they are clear cut above everybody else in Pacific. Like there's a lot of incentive for teams to do well in this by adding this on. There's also the knockout round. I think you get like some wins too for the teams that are going to be competing in that for the North American part.
I think it's second. So you're right about the 3 wins for the champion, and then 2 wins for the second place team, and then third and fourth place team get 1 win. And I think that I agree with that, because I do think that the midseason tournament was always a joke, right? Yes, it was like the stage finals where like, yes, okay, you get a little bit of like play, but people that aren't really in it don't really care. And if your team's not in it, nobody cares. And the All-Star weekend, same thing. You're not going to get any good matches because it doesn't matter. Like that $5,000 that you were going to get split between 27 people, like it didn't mean as much as they would have liked it to. So I think this is good. You win it, you get 3 additional wins. I mean, you won 3 additional games. Like, I don't think that that's wrong.
I guess I'm not really upset about that, about you getting more wins. I guess what I'm upset about is how the Overwatch League keeps changing the rules willy-nilly. Changing hero pools. Like, first off, they added hero pools, and then they're like, all right, you're going to have 4 weeks, and then they're coming in. That was still a little, like, late to be giving us that information. And, I don't know when they gave the teams the information, but I'd say that was a little late. Then on top of that, they change hero pools to be something stupid, in my opinion. Like, I think the new hero pools is a horrible way to decide them. I think it should just be separate from the game, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
If they don't want it to be separate from the game, then I think they need to base it off of Al. And if Al's not going, then they can base it off of competitive.
I think that's
But
a great idea.
from my
Right.
idea that I see right now, when they reveal the hero pools, it says from high level competitive play only. So
And we now know that it's
is
not
that
just
just
GM.
from
We
is
now
that
know
just
that
from
it's
competitive play on the game, or like it doesn't say anything about including Al stats?
yeah. Well, and we now know it's not just GM because I don't think that Roadhog is getting an 18% pick rate in Grandmaster, but I could be wrong there too. But I
No,
really,
Custa was
really
just
doubt
as
it.
shocked. He was
Most
like,
likely
"Who's
it's
playing
yeah.
Roadhog?"
Most likely it's Diamond play and above. That is our best guess at this point, looking at last night's stats for the played hero times. But then they come in and they're like, hey, guess what? The new midseason tournament now gives wins. So that's where my problem comes in. I think it's kind of a cool idea as long as it's stated at the beginning of the season.
To be fair, though, things have changed drastically
True.
than they thought. They were going to have homestands. They were going to have a midseason tournament. And they also missed a couple weeks. So they're missing a couple weeks of games that they kind of need to make up, right? So this is kind of giving teams a chance to kind of catch up and get more games under them. I don't have a problem with them changing things. I would rather them change things than just stick with something that's not the best because that was the rule at the beginning. I would rather them change things. And to be fair, they did say when they put in hero pools that it was something that could change, could go away completely, or could get, stay the same. Like
point,
they
good
were
point.
very open about that.
What about you, Lobo?
Well, the thing I think that you need to consider with this too is the details for the midseason tournament were never sort of revealed anyways. So the plans for the wins could have been in from the beginning. This could have been something that they were going to do anyways. It's really hard to know whether they were or not because it's not like they're going to tell us. It's not really relevant at this point anymore. So I think for me personally, I like the fact that you have incentive in the tournament. I think for me that's great. Like the one thing too that when we talk about all of this stuff, Overwatch League seems to have total autonomy of what they want to do. Like there doesn't seem to be any sort of checks and balances that has to go through from teams, from players, or anything like that. These decisions are just made and you
Which
deal with
is
them.
so different from, like, say, the NFL, where the owners like vote on the stuff that the NFL brings to the table every year.
But do you
The
think it was
players
like that
too.
at the beginning?
Players also.
But do you think it was like that at the beginning?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, there was somebody making all the calls, right? And I think that's where we're at with Overwatch League. I don't think you can compare it to a traditional sport that's been around for decades to a third year of an esport that's trying to accomplish different things than esports has ever done. And in a pandemic, right? So we've got all of these factors going at us. And I think they're doing their best to, one, make it viewable, two, make it competitive, three, make it fun, and four, make it sustainable. So, like, my thing with the midseason tournament is I think they're trying to capitalize on the market that is out there of people getting more into esports because right now, if you don't know the teams, you don't really know which teams are good, which teams are bad. And it's kind of like if they're not in a city that you're in, you're like, whatever. But a tournament, a lot of people can watch. And I think their viewership's been a little bit lower. And I think they're trying to capitalize on that. I think they're trying to bring in more viewers in a May tournament that way.
Well, Lobo, you were gonna go?
It's also more of an esports sort of thing too, right? Like the format of the Overwatch League is just pulled right out of traditional sports, the way that it's been the past couple years. They're starting to go more towards the esports side of things because they are losing some of those people because of how much they've been sort of against the grain. So I think that it helps to do some things that those who do like esports, something that they're more used to, mid-season tournaments. I mean, the mid-season invitational for League of Legends, you had freaking Faker meeting Ronaldo. Like that was something that had a massive draw in Brazil when that happened. Like it was a huge moment. A goat meeting a goat, Like I think doing things that can give incentive for teams to play a tournament of some kind when the regular season's long. It is really long for
Right.
Overwatch League. So you need to be able to break up that monotony that's sort of been happening. And we've heard so much even from last year about the Overwatch League fatigue that people would get because of all of the games in a row. And it's in part because people were watching every single game. Like
Right.
it is so much different for how Overwatch League is compared to other sports. So I think it's okay that there's still experimentation happening. Like it's about getting it right. As long as they're trying to get it right, like as much as I'm going to criticize them, I also have to give them a little bit of credit.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
feel like you can't just rest like until and you're always trying to improve. I think the NFL
Mhm.
even is trying to improve. But what is okay, so tell me this. Like a college basketball, right? Has college basketball and then they have March Madness, right? Is March Madness like okay, I'm not a basketball person, I'm a football person, but as we learned earlier, but is March Madness like in the middle of their season or is it at the end of their season? What
End of
is
their season.
and it's
oh, so it's
the
like the
tournament.
championship?
Yeah, it's what I want Overwatch League to do at the end of this year really bad. I want to have a two-side, 10-team seeded tournament. I want everybody in because of all the weirdness that has happened. I don't necessarily want that every year, although you might be able to talk me into it. But
I mean, I don't
I
see
want it
anything
this
wrong with
year.
it, but I do think that it would be super cool if we could have some sort of tournament at the end that's on land. Right now, ideally, we're only in April. Like ideally, that's a possibility at that point, right? But I think that that would be the ideal. We've given up all the homestands that were supposed to be season three's like claim to fame, and they're gone now, right? So can we get some homestand tournaments at the end to kind of solidify it into the final? I think that would be good. I don't think it's anything they're going to announce until there is the possibility of doing that.
Yeah.
I think at this point too, it's like you can't even think that homestands are going to happen at all. Like the most we can hope for is a LAN where they're all playing in the same place. Like the again, bringing in other esports into the conversation, but the LCK just held their finals, and they actually had the teams at a LAN. They were playing their games online prior to that for the most part, and then playoffs I think was when they finally were able to at least go back into whatever they call I don't know what their arena is called for League of Legends. They have like a special name. It's like the Summoners Arena or something. But they actually had both teams there. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but in the stands they have the cardboard cutouts. Like a lot
Oh,
of
that's great.
the sports leagues out there are doing this too. So they no fans still, but they at least were able to have the players in person, and they've got at least some
It
stands.
Were
literally
their
looks like
cubicles like
old
6 feet
school.
apart?
It's like old school Madden, where it was literally looked like cardboard cutouts in the stands.
It was great. It was really funny to watch. But like the casters were in the building too. Like, they had the cameras on the players and everything. So like they were still able to put something on. But that's also because in South Korea, things have kind of almost turned like they're not back to normal, but like they have been able to return to some sort of normalcy there because of how well they've been handling COVID-19. So
Yeah.
6 months from
You
now,
mean they're not on the beach? What?
right?
Too soon? Too soon?
Wild, wild.
So,
There was a bunch of idiots I just saw out today when I was driving home from work.
Yeah. That's
well,
fine.
we were watching the clip from last week's Boston halftime talk, and I was thinking to myself, Well, they're breaking the quarantine rules.
That's
And
not
they're
social
definitely not
distancing.
socially distancing, and it's definitely more than 4 people in one area. But
Okay, and what I told Bob is if they are in a team house, they are already exposed to each other, so they do not have to worry about social
yep,
distancing
I
themselves
know.
from each other.
It was just kind of funny. To kind of end this point, I wanted to give big props to, is it John Spector, the vice president? It's his
Yeah.
name, right? Yeah. He's the president. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's the one really trying. He's the one doing everything. And he really
He's the
is.
face. We don't
He
know how much he does or how much he doesn't do.
he's
He's the face.
trying to do a lot.
Yeah, he's the face of it. He's trying to step into a Nate Nanzer's shoes that are unsteppenable.
Yeah,
That
those are
was
big
an
shoes.
awful word, but yeah, like you
Nate
can't.
was so charismatic. I mean,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I
Every
mean, you
time,
can't get another Nate.
yeah, every
Which is
time,
unfortunate.
and I mean, charismatic on camera, but in person too. Every time I
Yeah.
talked to him in person, I mean, the guy was, you just wanted to be around him. And so, yeah,
Dude, I
filling
saw him at
that.
Guildhall, and he was like, "We've met before," and I was like,
Yeah,
"You remember?"
that
I
was
was
the
there
night.
when that happened.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the night we took the photo of him with the sideshow picture at the bar.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
and like you can see me in the reflection taking the photo that he posted to Twitter.
Yeah,
Oh
it was like
man.
him and Achilleos. It was a good time. It was,
Yep, that was when I met Achilleos.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he introduced me, and then he talked to a fan. It's great. It was a great. It was a great time. But yeah, I really appreciate him really trying, and I know it's hard right now. So that is
John
definitely
Spector's
cool.
been the only one that has given information out to the public, and I think that that's crucial because Nate Nanzer would do it frequently, and when he left, nobody was doing it.
Yep, he'd do it on
So
Twitter.
we
He
got
would.
nothing, right? Like we were literally just blind until it was like, next week this is gonna happen. And you're like, what? Like
All right.
it was
Well,
bad.
Even with Nate, though, we were kind of like, can we have something, Nate? Nate, please, Nate, give us a little more. Give us some. Give us
But I feel
something.
like that's like the Jeff Kaplan syndrome, right? Where like you talk a lot and then you're silent for a couple weeks and people are like, what's happening? Is the game dying? Where are you going? Like,
Don't
like
leave me, Jeff.
yeah. It's
hi,
fine.
my name's Jeff from the Overwatch team. Thanks
And
for
this
the
is
introduction.
this is taped on my phone, which is currently taped to a box right now.
That was a great dev update. But moving on to the next set of news. So, Lobo, I just saw like right before coming on, the Team Envy pulled out of Contenders. And since you're a Contenders caster, I think you are perfect to give us the latest news on Contenders departures.
It's wild how many teams have now done that. We also had, I don't think we've had an official announcement yet from the Eternal Academy, but the Paris Eternal, their team is also pulling out of Contenders. All of the players that are on Eternal Academy have come out and said that they are looking for a new team because Eternal Academy has disbanded, which is similar to what happened with the Montreal Rebellion. It was another team that never made an announcement that their Contenders team disbanded. So that's kind of the state of like how things are going with Contenders right now, is that a lot of teams are disbanding due to COVID because you already don't make money for having a Contenders team. Like that's a money pit to have a Contenders Academy team. And now you're making even less money because you're not having your home stands where teams were apparently making pretty decent money. So you're losing out on a lot of revenue that you were supposed to have. One of the things that's going to get cut are those Contenders teams because there's going to be teams that'll take place. Those players will still be playing in tier 2 somewhere. So it's a very weird state for the tier 2 scene to be in. You're kind of losing the bottom that's supposed to hold up the top, that is Overwatch League, and there's a lot of a lot of mixed feelings about what's happening because it's like we get it because of the times, but it's also like, man, this was happening before this was going
Yeah,
on. So
definitely.
it's becoming really concerning that all of these teams are leaving, especially because it seems like they're trying to do more for it. but the Team Envy being the latest one, I think if there was a team that I thought would never have the disband happen again, it would be Team Envy. Like that was the one. That was one of the few that I was like, yeah, this is going to be the one contenders team we're always going to have for the existence of Overwatch League. And the fact that it's gone is wild to me.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. And for those that don't know, Team Envy is the contenders team for the Dallas Fuel.
Yes.
The Fuel was known as Envious before becoming the Dallas Fuel, but that was definitely weird for me to see. I wonder
I mean, they've
if
got
it's
the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League now. I wonder if they just didn't have enough to
I also
put
wonder
into.
I also wonder how many tier 2 pros are just backing out of their contender spot because they want to try and get in on the ground floor of Valorant.
Some of them I think are. I mean, some of them are just going that way because the team that was supporting them is gone. So if you're a contenders player not on an academy team, you're doing it for the love of the game. You're not really doing it because you think you're going to be able to sustain anything. Unless you are somebody like a Samito who has a really big stream along with playing contenders, which by the way, Samito has retired from playing competitive Overwatch anyways, so another person gone. Triumph is still around, the team that he was on. But like,
Sam's supposed to come on the show sometime soon.
that'll be cool. He's a really great guy,
He's
good
super
guest
cool.
to have for sure. So
Yeah, we hung out a lot with him at BlizzCon. Ate the most expensive steak I've ever eaten with him, Frito, and Nateson. And Nateson ordered bacon.
That's it, just bacon.
Yeah, it was like
It was
prime
like-
bacon. It was
was like
thick
thick
bacon,
bacon?
though.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He gave me a little piece of it. It's definitely some real good bacon.
I'm sure it was, but when you're getting if you're going to a place where you're getting steaks, you get.
I don't think everybody
We
realized
had-
how expensive it
Yeah,
was.
we had no
Oh.
clue how expensive it was. Frito took us there. We're like,
Oh,
$70, huh?
You're like,
All
hey,
right.
Frito, how's that YouTube money treating you?
All right.
like set me up. What the heck?
Oh man, yeah. I was like, I'll just have one glass of wine at $14. Thank you.
I had two. Don't worry about it.
Is this meal being sponsored by Squarespace or or Honey
By your Overwatch.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, is honey.com sponsoring this meal? Like is there about to be an ad for, get your discounts on all of your websites by going to honey.com or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
of
God.
course, none of us wanted to be like, let's go someplace else. When just one of us should have spoken up. We could have went like next door, had
I know,
tacos.
Ooh, tacos and tacos out there are really good too.
Yeah, they are. But
I will say, just to chime in on the tier 2 stuff, I do think that the Gladiators head coach, Deepay,
Mhm.
right?
Deepay, yeah.
Yeah.
You said it right.
He put out a tweet that he said this is probably a controversial opinion, but he did bring it back to the fact that Overwatch League is running more like traditional sports, and the tier 2 scene in traditional sports is very minimal. And it's not minimal, it's very active, but nobody watches the minor league baseball or the, minor league whatever. And there was, people combating that with the fact that, yes, but those sports have like an infinite stream of new talent because of high school and college sports that they play and go into it, right? But I think the idea of tier 2 sports is that you will make it to tier 1 is your goal, right? So
Correct, right.
you go to tier 2 to go to tier 1. So why would people now, and I know you're a contenders guy, so tell me if I'm being really insensitive, but why would people watch tier 2 if they could watch tier 1? Like, why would I watch minor league baseball if I could watch Major League Baseball?
And this is one of the differences between minor league baseball to tier 2 Overwatch. And DP's kind of right, but he's also wrong about that because a lot of the teams that are the top teams in like the MLB, like the Chicago Cubs, for instance, their facilities for their minor league teams is immaculate. It is absolutely incredible. It's also a little bit different because the minor league teams are technically their own teams, and then the players are owned by the club. So the salaries of the players are taken care of by the Cubs, even though the team is the South Bend Cubs. So they have that affiliation. It's a little bit of a different world compared to like how tier 2 Overwatch works. And there's also revenue for those minor league teams where it's like it's all on them to sort of make money or not. Because if you're pulling people into your stadium, you're going to be making money. You don't have that in tier 2 Overwatch. So it's a much larger money pit for teams in the Overwatch League. But if your concern is developing the next generation of players and turning those players into superstars and having them be incredible, you need some sort of infrastructure that you control. That's something that the Cubs still have. Team like Envy had that for a while. That's now gone for their team. Like, sure, you can still buy great players that other organizations are going to grow and make into great players. But now you're even limiting that further, where it's further and further out of the control of the organizations at the top.
Okay,
So,
wait. Does Team Envy, just a question real fast before you move
Mhm.
on. Does Team Envy own the Dallas Fuel?
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
Astro.
Do
yeah.
they also own the Call of Duty League?
Yes,
The team
the team.
the team in Dallas, yeah.
Well, yeah, sorry. Do you think that because of the financial burden that was put on teams this year that they were supposed to make back because Dallas was supposed to host 5 homestands and make a crap load of money during those 5 homestands to help them pay for all of these other things? Do you think that that being eliminated was the reason they dropped
That's a
their contenders
fantastic
too?
point.
I think for a team like Envy, yes. I think for them, it made no sense because one of the things that they had done just before everything happened was they got back into Counter Strike too. Like Envy has always been a team that's spent well. Like they have this brand new facility that they built in Dallas. They literally have an area that was specific for the contenders team in their facility. So
Mhm.
I think that this is more of a COVID-19 casualty than anything else. But there are other
Yeah.
teams that were doing this before that. And that's where it kind of gets a little weird as far as contenders is concerned, because you do have teams that were just getting rid of the team because they didn't want to pay the money. And I
But do you think
understand
it's
why.
because but do you think it's because teams have not made that money yet, right? Like before you can invest in a tier 2 team, you should have a good net profit. And right now, most teams don't. And this was supposed to be the year that they started to do that, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And this was supposed to be the year they started to do that, but they also maybe only get 2 homestands. So even before the COVID-19 crisis, it's okay, well, we've only got 2 homestands. So
Yeah.
we're not going to make as much money anyways. So we've got to drop this tier 2 team and let somebody else pick it up and put their money and heart and soul into it, and we can scout players from that. Because I don't think the tier 2 scene needs to go away, but until the Overwatch League teams start making a profit, I don't think it's financially or fiscally responsible of them to invest in a tier 2 team as well.
And I agree with that. I understand from a purely financial look, that can be a very good reason to not do it. But then you can also argue the fact that, well, those players that you want that could potentially have you have greater revenues down the road, if you happen to have the next, the Michael Jordan of Overwatch League in
Right.
your system that you developed and kept because he was on your team, where you don't have to buy him out because you already have him under contract. That's also another way that you could look at it as well, is where they're saving money down the line because they don't have to buy this player out. They already have this player. So there's other ways financially to look at it too, where having a contenders team can end up benefiting you. I'm not saying that would happen, but
Right.
there's still that possibility. I think
if every other team had contenders teams though, still. But I think it's like a domino effect, right? Like one
It
team
sorta
drops
has.
it, and then another team drops, and then another team drops, and the other team's like, well, I can buy this player off the cheap of a random contenders
Yeah.
team rather than the Atlanta Reigns contenders team. You know what I mean? Like since there's very few teams that have contenders teams still, I think it's less enticing to have your own, right? Because yes, you can build up that player,
Mhm.
but you're less likely to have to pay a crap ton of money to outbid their contract if they're on somebody who's not in the Overwatch League's contenders team.
Possibly
Maybe,
though, because
maybe.
those players that are on those other teams are going to have multiple teams bidding for them.
Right.
So that will still drive up the price. So the weird thing with this whole thing is I think it was before the season started, every team was supposed to have a contenders team. Like that was
Mhm.
something that was said before.
They had the option.
No,
I
they're
don't think it was said
supposed
they were
to.
supposed to. I don't think that was the case. But
They
I
were
could be wrong.
They were before it was an option, and then it was supposed to become by there was some sort of timeline that was set out. They were supposed to have contenders teams. So it's that's also one of the things that's really murky too, because it was never laid out perfectly of like how that's supposed to work. But teams like getting rid of their contenders teams makes all the sense in the world to me. Like I get why teams are going to do it, but it does make it hard for people to people are going to get concerned because those players who are trying to work their way in, one of the most talented players that isn't in Overwatch League because he's too young is Sugar Free. He retired from playing Overwatch because of
Listen, you don't
how
get to
things went.
retire at 17.
He's
I'm
not even
sorry.
he
He's
is
It's
not even
14.
17. Yeah,
He is or
Listen.
15 now.
Okay, you don't get to retire, you quit. Okay? Like, don't tell me you retired from Overwatch. You quit. You're 14. You can't retire.
But he was already playing like 3-4 years. Like he was already like one of the best players in contenders. Like literally we had a countdown timer on Push the Point for when Sugar Free was going to be Overwatch League eligible, because he was somebody that was so anticipated, like how Hawk was anticipated for Atlanta coming in as one of the off tanks. Like that was Sugar Free too. So
Okay. How
losing
old
out on
do you
talent like
have to
that
be?
sucks.
How
18.
old do you have to be for the Overwatch League, but for other esports? Like
Most
be in the League of
es-
Legends. Like, do you have to be
It's not 18.
Yeah, it's not 18 for League. I don't know what it is for League, especially too, because the only time that they play overseas is for like the big tournaments, like Mid-Season Invitational and World. So you're already playing in your region, so you can be like 16 and be on like Team Liquid. So it's a little bit different though, because they're not traveling like Overwatch League is. Like Overwatch League has a different barrier for entry because of that. The cross country travel or international traveling, I should say, changes things a
Yeah.
lot. And I think that's why 18 ended up being the number. So that made it a little bit more difficult.
Also, I don't think the Overwatch League wanted to deal with parents. Like they even took that out of the World Cup and were like, sorry, we're not doing your parents.
But
which is
I do,
unfortunate.
though, like we've already seen the impact that this has had on 18-year-olds plus.
Mhm.
And I don't think that when you're 14, you're ready for that, or you should be ready for that, right? Like
Not for
you
a league.
drop the limit to 14 or 16, and then all of a sudden, like your cap gets to like 20, right? Like once you're over 20, you're washed up. And it's like, come on. Like what professional sport works on people under the age of 20 only?
All right.
Like,
Well,
that's ridiculous.
we've talked about this plenty. I'm going to move us on to our last bit of news, which is BlazzinBob makes a fool out of himself on Twitter once again. So,
like a nightly thing.
Saturday,
Fine.
I got real pissed off at the broadcast because I was getting major rubber banding, which appeared on first glance to look like whoever was uploading the stream had crap internet, is basically what it looked like. So I got into it with some person on Twitter who, okay, there were definitely people that made valid arguments, but there's this one guy that just kept making the dumbest arguments. And I mean dumb, just not even an argument, just like, you don't know how this works. It just dumb arguments. And I fell into the trap of fighting with him over Twitter on it, which I shouldn't have done. But unfortunately, it turned out I'm the jackass in the last, the last laugh was on me, because basically the next day I did a lot of testing, and it turns out, and this might help people at home too, it turns out the stream degrades. Basically, you can watch it for about 20-30 minutes, and then it starts to get laggy. If you're on Chrome, a refresh will fix it. If you're on the Xbox, I tried it on 3 different devices. So if you're on the Xbox, you could just back out of the stream, go right back in. Everything's fine once again. I tried it on Microsoft Edge on the computer. It did the same thing. Refresh would fix it. But on the phone, it never degraded at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it depends on the app you're using, but it's the weirdest thing. Like, the stream just literally craps out. I don't know if it's a memory leak issue with the way YouTube streams. This is the first time I've really watched like a lot of YouTube streaming. So I believe it's a problem with the platform itself and not even the Overwatch League's issue, now that I've done some more testing.
And it seems like a lot of those sort of issues seem to be more on YouTube's end than on the Overwatch League's end, because it's not just one stream that gets affected by that stuff. And that's unfortunate too, because it's like Overwatch League has had their fair share of problems with things like Achilleos' mic being overmodulated to the nth degree, where he has this super expensive headset on, but he sounds like he's on a $2 headset.
Yeah. The sound stuff is really bad, but I feel for him, because that is hard. That's hard to set up correctly. Like, I deal with it all the time, and I've helped many podcasters fix their, problems. And unfortunately, if you're using USB mics, it's extremely hard. And most of the people, especially players and player interviews, are using USB mics. And there's a lot of tweaking behind the scenes on the computer you have to do to really make it sound correct.
I will say they did, there was an article that talked about the remote cloud production of the Overwatch League. And they had talked about some of the woes that they had come into, but that they were more prepared for it than they thought they were going to be, because they were already working on a remote production because of the homestands, right? They knew they were going to have to remotely produce some of that content from LA and from different homestands. So they did talk about that. They talked about sending different care packages of all the equipment that they sent to people. And it was a lot. It was like a 4K camera, the Althing backdrops, the ring lights. So, I mean,
the headsets that they probably sent them boards, because those are XLR headsets that they're using.
Said some they had to buy new desktop PCs, but most of them were pretty good. Like, most of the casters and the analysts had good home setups, but some of them they did have to buy new.
Probably
PCs
like Achilleos and Wolf, because their home is in Korea and they ain't in Korea right now. I think Achilleos is back home in New Jersey right now.
Yeah.
So those guys, they probably had to buy them setups because all their stuff's back in Korea. They're not getting it over here. So
Right.
that kind of sucks that Overwatch League had to do that, but it also doesn't because they've got the money. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for
setting it
them.
up is going to be difficult though if you don't know what you're doing for sure.
Well, I just wanted to put that on record and say my apologies to the Overwatch League production crew and Blizzard. I was obviously wrong on what the problem was because I was able to fix it continuously Sunday, and I tested it pretty extensive. So if you guys are having problems with the feed, if you're having problems with lag, refresh. If you're on Xbox, PlayStation, I'm assuming the app's the same. Just back out, go right back in. It'll fix it, and it'll make it a lot more enjoyable because the rubber banding that starts happening makes it almost unwatchable. So hopefully that
Can we
helps
also point
others
out
out
that
there.
Twitch has been having a lot of issues too, so let's not just blame YouTube for everything. It's just
I've been watching a
the
lot of Twitch, and I haven't run into any of those issues yet.
Oh, well, Twitch did something today. I was trying to watch Jake's stream and he nobody could see him and then nobody could see the video and then it was bad. But I think they were doing maintenance or something. I don't know.
Yeah, all the big streamers haven't really been having any problems to my knowledge, but oh, all right. So let's talk about some games, dude.
Awkward, an hour in and we're just getting to games.
Has it really been an hour? Jesus. All right. Okay, so we thought Seoul Shanghai was going to be the game of the week. It turned out to be the whooping of the week. Like, we talk about close 3-0s. This was not a close 3-0. And speaking of it, almost every game this week was a 3-0. Some close, some not, but
Some really close.
yeah,
Right.
Shanghai. So what's up with Seoul? Like, why
They played
did
against maybe the best team in the league.
Yeah, but why did they have Profit just playing on May the entire time? Like, why do you have your
I don't
best
think
flex
Profit
player?
playing on May. I don't think Profit on May was the problem. I think them trying to run Marvel on Diva is their problem. I think that they went in with a plan and it didn't work, and then they had to adjust. And I think the people that they fielded couldn't adjust to what they needed to adjust to.
They really just didn't deal with Fleta on Farah though. Like that's
Yeah,
not
at
all
all.
on Marvel though. Like Marvel's not the entire reason why. Like Diva's only one part of the equation to dealing with a pharmacy composition. You've got a couple different
But
options.
Diva's the main counter to Pharmacy, in my opinion.
But you also need somebody to actually like the Diva's not the one killing the Farah though, right?
No.
Like that's the thing. Like Marvel seemed to do fine with what he was supposed to do, but there was no follow-up. Like I don't put it all on Marvel, especially like you have to put some blame on Marvel because one, he's inexperienced on Diva. You know, you
Right.
have Michelle on the bench who's a way better Diva player. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any question at all whatsoever.
Yep.
The problem is that Marvel is literally better at every other tank other than Diva than Michelle. Like that's where the issue comes in for Seoul right now. And I chalk that up to a bad meta for them in that week in particular, but also like stubbornness too is what it felt like more than anything
Mhm.
else. Like keeping Fleta on the May when the May strat isn't working. If you're not running over everybody but the pharmacy, you have to switch, and they just never did, and it just made
Yeah.
no sense
Not
at all.
willing to adapt. Like they were
Yes.
they were headstrong and what they had practiced was going to work and it didn't. And when it didn't work, they didn't transition. And I think that's just, I think, to be fair, Seoul hasn't played a ton of games
Yep.
yet, right? So their necessity to adapt has not been challenged yet.
True.
And
Very
it wasn't challenged against the Spark, and it was against the Dragons, and they didn't adapt. But that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that they will not adapt in the future. I think that Shanghai was the first team that they've gone up against that really pushed them, and they're going to get to play them a lot. And I don't know who it was
I
that
mean, they
said
do
it.
have a lot of London Spitfires team, and that was their whole motto forever, wasn't it? Like,
I don't know that that's London Spitfire, though, or that's London Spitfire's coaching and management, right?
I don't know either.
It's not. It's you have a couple. you have Bedosin, Gesture, and Prophet, like those three. But then you have Toby, then you have Marvell, who's from Lucky Future Zenith, and then you have Fleta, who's a guy who came in, or I said Fleta, I meant Fitz. Wrong wrong team. Fitz, who was just a guy
used
that
to
they
be
pulled
on
in
that
from,
team though.
right? Yeah, Fleta used to be, and then he destroyed them. But Fitz is a guy who came in, I think, from Contenders Korea. So like you kind of have a sort of mismatch of stuff, like management wise. They have a bunch of different guys from different areas. Like to me, it just felt like they just didn't adapt, they didn't change, or they didn't play the comp that they were playing well enough. Like you can't expect Marvell, has, even if he's been playing a lot of Diva and he's improving at a great rate, like which is something it seems like he does because he's such a good Sigma. Like like it's funny, like going from Saturday to Sunday, because Saturday you see him on Sigma and he is just wrecking, and you're like, wow, Marvell paired up with Gesture is awesome, and then he's playing all the other tanks really well too. And you're like, dang, it's like I didn't know this guy could play off tank stuff too, like because he was always a main tank. So to me, it was like you couldn't expect him to play Diva perfectly, and the fact that you didn't have some sort of answer other than him playing Diva and like nothing else with it was just not probably a great thing to do if you were.
So this is the first week we've seen Soul, right? We didn't see them last week. I mean, not the first week, but the first week in like 6 weeks or something crazy.
I forget when they last played, but they
The
hadn't
first
played.
week since they've been back to Asia.
No, I think
Correct?
I think this is the second time. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they
weekend
played,
prior?
yeah, or
They
2
didn't play
weekends.
last week.
Sorry, 2 weekends ago. I want to say. I thought we
Yeah.
saw them again. I
We
can't
saw
remember.
them again with online matches. I think we talked about this last week, actually. You asked the same question.
It's
I
tough
don't
to the
remember.
schedule is so goofy. It's hard to keep track of.
It is
anything.
so goofy. But
I
Yeah,
don't
they
think
did.
we
They
have,
played.
but
They played at the end of March, so they did play online games.
okay. Yeah. I'm not saying online games. I'm saying since they've been back in Asia.
It's been about a month, probably.
Okay.
You just say so about 4. Yeah, it's about 4 weeks. Because their last game was the 29th, prior to this weekend.
Okay. So I guess my point is that I think that there is a big advantage to Shanghai right now, who has had to play multiple
games, yeah.
matches against Chengdu. Like, learn how to adjust. You're playing Chengdu, right? Like, they've figured out Chengdu. They lost to Chengdu the first match, and then they were like, okay, we're going to figure that out. Okay, they did, right? They've played Spark and they've played Charge. Like, they have gotten a lot of practice against these 3 teams. And Seoul has not. The last teams they played were NA teams, right? So I don't know that they were actually ready for this match against Shanghai. But I also think, to Bob's point against all the 3-0s, is that a lot of these teams are rematches, right? A lot of these teams are teams that have played each other a lot. And you start to figure out what to do against this team. And I think that's what makes it so easy. Yes, it's different hero pools, but you still know their strength. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I mean, but one thing we could see is that the 3 China teams besides Shanghai suck.
I think they're mid-tier. I don't think they suck.
I think they're
mid-tier.
bottom tier.
I don't think they're bottom tier.
No, I
think that they could
disagree. I
beat a
think
lot of the
they go
NA
back and
teams.
forth.
I would love to see all 3 of them take on Boston, because I think Boston might get another win or 2.
Oh,
Okay, no.
I don't think Boston could get a win against.
That is a stretch.
Yeah. Like,
That
do
is a
you think
big
Boston could win Contenders right now? Because I don't think so. Do you think Boston?
Okay. I wouldn't go that far, but
I would. Like, I'm sorry. Did you see them against the Mayhem? Like, did they even play? It was like the shortest match in history. Like,
it was statistically the shortest match in Overwatch League history.
and it only got
playtime.
elongated because of the last map. Like, the first 2 matches were done in like 5 minutes. I was like, what is happening?
It was statistically Well, let's just talk about that. Unless what do you guys
What's
want to
to
like
talk about?
combat like what I said about the Chinese teams?
I think
We already did. It's stupid.
they're actually. I mean, they're pretty good. I think that they're mid-table teams, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on who they're going against. But regardless of that, like the one thing that's this has nothing to do with really those teams, but something that I find weird is if you look at traditional sports, the more you play a team, usually the games get closer. It's going the other way for the Overwatch League. And it's like, what the hell? Like, why is it not going where, oh, we know this team in and out now? Why is it not getting closer? It's going the other way.
It's because
But
they're
I think
in
it's
their
been
heads,
very
man.
back and forth. At
It's-
least in the Asian region.
Yes.
Right?
I do
Where
agree
it's
with that,
like
yeah.
it's like the spark will beat the charge, and then the charge will beat the spark, and then
Yeah, but
Chengdu
that's those three.
spark, and then the spark will beat
They
the
all get
Chengdu,
beat
and like
by Shanghai.
oh,
destroyed.
100%. Shanghai
might be the best team in the league.
Shanghai's a tier
Possibly.
above any of them. 100%. But I don't know that we can say that just because they get destroyed by Shanghai means that they're a lower level team.
But then they get destroyed by Seoul too, who gets destroyed by Shanghai.
But that's how good Shanghai is, and I think Seoul is somewhere.
I
near
think-
the
They thought
top.
Seoul
I think
was the top
Seoul
two.
is in the middle tier. I think the other three teams, the other three Chinese teams besides Shanghai, are in the bottom half.
I don't know.
I don't know. Unfortunately, we
interesting to
don't
discuss
get to
the
see,
balance.
which sucks. What'd you say?
As it'd be interesting to see those bottom three teams you're talking about play Dallas.
Be interesting to see him play the Houston Outlaws.
That too, yeah.
Ever.
But okay,
Listen,
let's
the Houston
talk
Outlaws
about
fit more into the
mayhem.
Chinese region than they do into here. Let's just be real. Like we are a dive team. Move us to China, damn it.
Oh, I don't know that your team, your players would be excited about that. But
Whatever.
Mayhem versus Boston, shortest game in Overwatch League history. They literally had to just filler, because I don't even think Dallas and Houston were ready to play yet. So,
Oh God.
so
They're
Mayhem
like, wait, over? Boston
looks to
Mayhem's
be-
over already? What's happening? I'm still eating.
Mayhem looks to be getting better, like quite a bit better. And Boston seems to just be getting worse and worse. And how much longer is Huck going to have a job? I mean, he does work for Robert Kraft.
I mean, I feel like Boston has been good for one stage in Overwatch League history. One stage. Other than that, they've been bottom feeders.
And for that
And-
stage, they had this small time coach. His name's Krusty. He hasn't done much in the Overwatch League, but they had him, on the roster then.
Yeah, I think they are really, really struggling. And when you want to play a Moneyball type of Overwatch, you need to have the right people in place. And I don't think they have the right people in place. And I don't think that I don't even know where they go from here, right? Like,
Well, they made a lot
can
of
they
money.
get better?
They made a lot of money off the players they got rid of. They just don't seem to be getting more
Winning
of those
any
players
matches.
to sell off. Like Jerry's not a striker to sell off. You know what I mean? Like
Jerry
good
has
player,
no
but he's not-
support.
he's good, but he's not striker.
He's
Right, he's
not,
not
but he
striker.
has no support. So
Yeah,
you
it's hard to
also
know.
think like, what would he look like on a team that does have more adequate tanks and support, right? This isn't a solo game. So it's almost unfair for us to say that any individual players on this team are awful. Well, some of them might be, but like it's hard to see which ones are the
Extremely hard to see the diamonds
Catalyst.
in the rough. Yeah.
right. Like, go ahead.
I think Myungbung has been okay. Like I think
Yeah,
he's been
Youngbung
alright.
has.
Like there's a couple of players who have been I think the biggest thing
They
is
have their
that
moments, you know?
right, players that had the moments, but also like I think Color Hex and Fusions, like those are the two players to me that have been the most disappointing this season.
Yeah.
because those
Agreed.
are players that I thought were pretty good players. Like I thought they were pretty good last year, and I thought, okay, like coming into the season, I was like, okay, Myung Bung is pretty good. Nobody knew really anything about Jerry other than his name. Brucein and Halo, it's it's Brucein and Halo. Like there wasn't a lot expected there, and then of course we had the other things that happened with this team with certain players, and then Swimmer retiring.
It's the Boston thing. It's just a Boston thing.
It's so
It
weird.
is weird. It is so weird.
It is so weird. It's just like so like this team is just in flux. It's just like I don't even know if they had Swimmers still like that probably wouldn't make much of a difference anyways, right?
Yeah. But
Like
they just keep losing people, which shows something about the organization, right? Like Swimmer leaving, I think their head coach left, right? Didn't their head coach leave? Am I crazy?
that was
Yes.
before
Like 3 weeks
Like
ago.
2 weeks ago or something? Yeah.
God, they keep losing people.
And they only have
And-
6 active players, as Loki points out in the chat, which is actually a breach of the Overwatch League rules. You have to have 8 active players as of the start of season 2.
You can only have 8. Or no.
You have
You
to
have
have
to have
at
8?
least 8, as the rules stated at the start of season 2.
But
Which
at the
they did.
start, they had 8.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying that's when the rules changed. Not
By
you
the
have to
rule
keep
of
them.
law, they were okay.
They were in compliance.
Mineral's still their coach, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an assistant coach that left too.
It
Like,
might have been an assistant coach, but like they have a history of losing coaches and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like they lost Krusty. Like,
I just
probably still their biggest loss.
Yes.
Where is there to go for Boston right now? Like, do you guys see any hero pool or meta or anything that you think that they could get a win in?
It's the same
No.
place for the Patriots to go. To the losers squad. It's time for us all to reign over Boston and Robert Kraft. Suck it.
It's funny because like the Uprising Academy team's decent. Like they've done a pretty good job with their they've always done a pretty
Do you
decent
think they
job with their
lose to their
team.
academy team if they played their academy team? Do you think
Oh, I
lose?
hope not. That's really bad if you lose to your my God. I don't know. Like I met Huck.
You think
I
Robert
had-
Kraft's in there being like, "I'll give you $100 if you do not beat them."
All right, what about Philly versus Atlanta? Now, earlier chat popped off. Loki was saying that that it wasn't a close 3-0. I disagree. I think it was a close 3-0, but
certain maps. Yeah.
I might be just thinking about Baby Bay versus Carpe, which was a really good matchup. But then Loki in chat said that it was the tanks that were off. You know, that it was Philly's tanks that were really owning, but I would make the argument that no, it was Philly's supports that were owning, which allowed their tanks to own, which allowed Carpe to die multiple times. First, when Baby Bay took him out, but then still to win the team fights, even without Carpe, arguably the best, if not, top 5 in the league.
I feel like that's been a consistent theme. Like, Philly's tanks are good because of Funny Astro and Alarm. Like, there is no doubt that Sato looks like a great tank this year because of his support line. Like, he already had Carpe. He already had, he had the other people. Like, Funny Astro and Alarm are top tier, and they're making their team look 100% better than anybody else could, I think. So I think there's that. I think that Atlanta, I do feel like it was close, but they did not play well. And I don't think that's indicative of how they are as a team. I don't think we're like, oh, Atlanta's bad now. I don't think that's the case.
Hawk and Gator are really good tanks too. Like Hawk is super good, especially when he gets Like his diva is awesome and his Sigma too. Like he carries fights on Sigma. It's
Right.
nuts.
I
But
did notice they were playing a lot of Pokpo though.
yeah, the synergy doesn't seem to be as good there between Pokpo and Hawk as
What do you think?
Gator and
Why do you
Hawk.
think that was though?
Probably
Like,
just
because I do
communication.
think the synergy between Gator and Hawk is very good, but why do you think they subbed in Pokpo?
Probably just because either because of maps or something else, or maybe they think Pokebo's better at. I don't know if they think he's better at. I don't think he's better
Ryan?
at Reinhardt. Maybe, but I don't think he is though. That's the thing. I think he's probably a little bit less aggressive than Gator is on Reinhardt. Like Gator's a very aggressive Rhine, so maybe that's why the aggression. Their DPS lineup confuses the hell out of me because like I feel like they have like don't get me wrong, I love the King, I love Baby Bay, but like you've got Erster on that team, you've got Edison. Like those two guys are so good, and we don't get to see them play together that often. And I don't know why that is.
I think Baby Bay is a big part of that organization. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's probably
like
it.
you look at him on the surface and you don't see a lot, but behind the scenes, I mean, like
So nice.
he comes off as an arrogant ass like a lot of the time, but he really isn't. He's a team leader. He's a guy that cares about his team a
Team
ton.
player, yeah.
Like he's there before everybody else in the in the practice room. He's there after everybody else leaves. He's just, I mean, he's a student of the game. He's a big leadership part of that team, and I think that's why he's in. He's like a Jake, but better at playing DPS.
Okay.
It's
He's
the
a better
truth.
game
It's the
player.
truth. You can't argue
out.
with that.
Leave my Jake alone.
He,
I
mechanically,
do think though,
mechanically, he's better than Jake.
Definitely.
correct,
That
mechanically,
you can
but
say for
there's
But
there's
what
also
I'm
a
saying
lot
is
that has to do with positioning, and there is a lot that has to do with shot calling, and there's a lot that has to do with game knowledge, right? So I think Baby Bay has a lot of that. I think that switching out your DPS is not as hindering as switching out your tanks and supports.
Well, and the reason Gator and Hawk
Switching
are
your
so
tanks
good
and support.
together, Mel.
But like we were talking about, babe, is
yeah.
Pokpo was playing a lot. Sorry. It
All
just
right.
comes out sometimes.
So I don't know if you know, but Gator and Hawk played in contenders. That's why they have
I
the
do know
rapport
that.
together.
Right, but they were playing Pokpo a lot.
Yeah, but you had asked while I was away from the mic, you had asked why they look so much better together, and I think that's why.
No, I asked why they subbed in Pokpo if Gator and Hawk were looking so much better together.
Well, I will tell you, everybody at the start of the season said that Pokpo had lost his job. Now, I said on this podcast and on Al by the Numbers that I thought Pokpo was going to start because I think that that Atlanta believes he's the better Reinhardt. And a lot of people disagreed with me, but week one, it happened. They put Pokpo in, and I think Selfless Brad just likes Pokpo's Reinhardt, likes what Pokpo's done for him in the past.
Didn't they one though play Pokpo and Gator? Didn't they play two main tanks?
Yes.
Certain maps, yeah.
Yes.
In week one?
Actually, yeah.
So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily tell me that Pokpo had the starting job at that point because they played both main tanks, right?
He technically had a starting job, but I think more than anything, like as far as the Reinhardt thing, it's two different styles of Reinhardt more than it's like one is necessarily better than the other is more of what it feels like. But that
but I think you have to
consider one
build
style better, right?
You have to build off of one of them. You can't switch between the two of them because I think the rest of the team will fail.
Yeah,
right?
I think
because if you're switching between a passive and an aggressive Rhine, the healers are going to be like, "What?"
Yeah, I do think switching out the main tank is the hardest thing to switch out. Mm-hmm. The main tank, the main healer, two of the hardest things to switch out. You can kind of sub around everything else, really. I mean, San Francisco even showed us you could put a DPS in, as support, but The main
I'm pretty
tank
sure San Francisco failed
is
a couple matches because of that. So
I don't think they ever did.
No, they lost when they were playing those LA games. They did that a little bit. When
they were getting a
lost.
little too fancy. They
Yeah,
were
but
swapping out everybody.
basically
Yeah,
the
that
main
was,
tank, especially when it pertains to Reinhardt and Winston, probably the main tank has so much influence on how the fight goes. It's uncanny. Whereas when the main tank switches to Orisa, I think there's a lot less that the main tank actually does. The main tank doesn't really dictate the pace of the fight there. It's more like the DPS dictating the fight. But
It's
could
more
be
about
wrong.
her Orisa utility when it's in Orisa. It's all about how she's using her halts. When she fortifies, where placing her barriers, is she's placing them aggressively or not, and stuff like that. Like it's a lot. There's a lot more minutia in the Orisa than there is with the Reinhardt, where it's more about the mind games and some of the other stuff. So it's a little bit different in that way. It's kind of more head on with the Orisa and more about the utility. So
Do you think it would be better to stick with one main tank
I
or have hear me out? I'm not finished with my question.
You
Or
just
have a
said
main
one main
tank
tank.
that I know, or have a main tank that excels at Ryan and have a main tank that excels at Winston. And because they're very different play styles, right? The only problem I see with that is that often you're switching between a Ryan and a Winston within a map in specific situations.
Yeah, whereas usually if you're going to play Orisa, you're playing them for the. I think it's better to have a Ryan Winston player and then an Orisa player.
I want one main tank. I just
Yeah.
want one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best.
And just play to their play style, right? Like, so maybe that's what they're trying to do with Popo is like maybe they are struggling through a couple maps
To put 'em
where
in. Mhm.
it's not perfect, but they can learn from it to get that synergy between Popo and Hawk.
If you ask me, I think they're doing it wrong then because I think it should be Hawk and Gator. If you ask me,
I think the other thing too is like, as hard as it is to switch main tanks, it's also not hard if you ask other teams. Like we saw Vancouver do that, we saw San Francisco do it. I think the main healer part is the more important one. Which, by the way, why would you ever take Funny Astro out? Like the games that have been lost for Philadelphia, I in part blame it because they took out Funny Astro. Just wanted to put that out there since they are the other team in this
Agreed.
match. But for Atlanta specifically, like this is one of those things where they either learn from it or they don't too. Like you either stick with going with Gator the entire time, like you've been starting to do, or you figure out how you want to integrate Pokebo. And you need, I think more than anything, it's the communication between Pokebo and Hawk that matters more than anything else, especially
Right.
when you're talking about like the
and
Reinhardt.
yeah, Pokebo doesn't have the best English.
And that it matters. It really does. So
Well,
I
and just
hope
knowing each other's play style. I think Gator and
That
Hawk
too.
have a much better synergy and they don't have to
more
talk as
time.
much,
Yeah.
right? Like
True.
they don't have to say as many things because they just anticipate what the other is going to do.
Which is
So-
something that definitely happens on teams, like lower
But
tier
maybe they're
teams,
getting
higher
there
tier
with Pokebo.
teams.
You know, maybe Hawk's getting there with Pokebo, where
Maybe.
he's starting to understand. It could be, you know, could be a big brain play, guys. Who knows?
Hawk's a smart guy, so I always think he has good thoughts too on the game. Like I don't know if you ever look at Hawk's Twitter, but like he'll put his thoughts about certain things every now and then, and he always has really good things to say. Very much worth going to Hawk's Twitter if you don't.
So I
I-
thought Valiant would at least take a map off of San Francisco, but they didn't.
Nah.
I didn't-
San Francisco was mad. They were like, listen,
They were
we
mad
can't
that
keep this up.
Dallas almost beat them the week before.
They were just like, listen, we already lost the LA team once. Like, let's just put this behind us. They stuck with the consistent roster you saw. Their little musical chair escapades were a little bit
And
under
no
control.
Sinatra in that roster. Sinatra's been out of the out of the games for what, the last 3 different weeks that they've had games?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to start rioting. Yep. They're going to start imploding from the inside. I've called it for 3 years. Don't worry. It's going to happen.
It still hasn't, but it's going to.
It's going to. If I,
I mean,
keep saying it,
it's going to happen.
they're going to be
every
the
team
next
implodes
Titans.
eventually.
I mean,
Okay.
once the Grandmaster Krusty leaves, it might happen.
Yeah. I am actually like, I respect Krusty a lot because of what he's done with the San Francisco Shock, because I feel like any other coach, this team would have imploded season 2, like hardcore. And if not season 2, they would have imploded this season because they already won a championship and they wanted more money and they wanted to go somewhere where they could get playtime. Like,
I feel like part of it is like Krusty, but I think it's also some of those players have matured a bit from like season 1
Nah,
to
nah.
season 3.
no.
I think a lot of them have. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think Super might be the best Reinhardt in the Overwatch League. So if Reinhardt's not banned, San Francisco always has a chance of stomping.
I think that Rascal and Striker are their best DPS right now with what they could play. And I think that Rascal just in general is just so versatile and good at so many things. And I think Rascal is going to be a really good, what's the new character? Echo?
Yeah, because
Come on,
of
guys.
being
Really
able
good
to
at
switch.
Come on. It's
Yeah.
big brain. Him and, no, not Prophet. Prophet will be really good like the following week because he's really good at like imitating play, right? But Prophet's not the innovator.
Yeah, Rascal's an innovator. That's true. That's a good.
So
I like that. I'm really curious. I wonder if we'll even get Echo, but like San Francisco, like
I
the
don't think we
revenge
will.
tour ended after the other week, right? Because they beat both LA teams, and now it's the encore tour. So now they're gonna just stomp them again. Like that's what you do when you're
It's
the
like
big
we
man.
gave you a bone. Now give it back. Like
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
When you go on a tour and you're the big act, you have those encore dates that you always hit too, and that's just what they're doing.
All right. Well, there's not really much to say about that game, but on to what turned out to be the game of the week. The battle for Texas. Your boys in blue, the Dallas Fuel, take on the Houston Outlaws. They're so
True.
cute. So this game was big, had big implications. I mean, like, you know, what was it, preseason, you know, before season 1, Dallas beat Houston, then Houston goes on to just destroy Dallas 3 times in a row, and then the last time before this game, Dallas did beat Houston. They were in kind of dire straits at that moment. But this game was not as stomping on either side. It was absolutely fantastic. It was up and down and back and forth, and it went to the final round of the final control map. What did you guys think of this game? Because I was on the edge of my seat. I loved it. Like when they were going into the fifth match, I was just like, dude, win or lose, we are winners as fans of the Texas team. So what did you guys think of it?
I mean, go ahead, Lobo.
I was just happy it was a good game more than anything
Yeah.
because like imagine if it's like a 3-2 and it's like a 3-2 with Boston and some of those games that we had seen, or like the Toronto Boston game. Like at least it was good Overwatch, right? Like I think that's the thing that made me happier than anything else.
And we got to see Dive. Like, come on.
Oh, and
That was
hey,
awesome.
Mel, OT Misfit in the chat loves your hat, by the way.
Listen.
It's a nice Dallas Fuel hat you're wearing. Lost
Sorry.
the bet.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm
no,
still wearing it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
It does too. So fine.
She's even
Me
wearing
too.
my hat, and it's a fitted hat, so it's
like
way too
super
big.
in the back. Yeah, it's fine. But what I will say is it was a very good game. And I think that it was entertaining. I loved that both teams just played to their strengths and they did it well. And there was a few mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes on both sides. And I think that one mistake going the opposite way changed the outcome of this match.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
like for instance, on Volskaya at the very end, Dallas could have won if Gamsu would have solo shattered Blaze's
Blase.
doom, right? It would have totally turned the fight. Dallas might have won that map. Very good chance, right? Then you look over to Route 66 and the very end of the match, Houston's about to do an amazing hold, and Muma just doesn't click Primal Rage, just doesn't hit Q. And,
okay, to be fair,
and I mean,
two
two really small mistakes cost those those entire rounds. So I thought that was really cool.
correct. But you look at things like that. And so I was watching Jake did a VOD review in the Houston Dallas match, and I watched most of it. I haven't finished it yet. But he did you look at that map where on Route 66, where Muma doesn't pop Primal. And he casted it and said Muma made a mistake, right? And as he's doing the VOD review, he took Muma's perspective and he took Decay's perspective. And Decay popped him in the head 3 times, like boom, 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 right? And Muma didn't pop Primal, and he should have, but he said it's possibly and I know Jake may be a little biased, but
Just a
not
little
that biased.
bit. Just
Okay.
a little bit. At least
But he
Custa
did make a
owns
good
it.
point. Shut up. He did make a good point that it's very possible that that is a LAN versus online timing issue, right? Where in LAN,
That
you
is a good
can
point.
pop that Primal, but online, you can't. Like, you don't have that time. And I think that that is a big difference. And maybe a lot of these players play where it's like, oh, okay, I did this, right? There's also, you mentioned Gamsu not shattering something, right? And I think when I was watching the VOD review, Jake pointed out they had Gamsu on what's the 2CP map that they played?
Oh, shoot.
Was it?
Volskaya, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I'm
remembering
talking
right?
about at the very end.
Okay, so on that map, they had Gamsu slept in the room on the left with the
God,
Diva
my
bomb
memory is
going
good.
off, right? And Meko accidentally shoots Gamsu and wakes him up from sleep, and he's able to put up his shield. That's a huge mistake. We could have dominated that match, but we didn't, right? But it's not like those are mistakes that everybody makes.
Yeah,
Like,
those
are
happen
things
all
that
the time.
happen, right? But what I'm saying is that Misfit, I have many of bones to pick with you about your cast yesterday, but what if we'll go with this one. Houston can't finish. I don't think that's a thing. Houston finished very well, more so this match than they have in so many previous matches. What I will say is that both teams struggled to finish. There was a lot of times where Repel and Jexe were at 25% health and got away from Decay and Doa and the tank, right? There was a lot of times where there was Dallas players that got away from our players at 10 health, right? There's a lot of things that need to be polished on both teams, but I think that's the chaos of dive, right? I think that's the chaos of you've got good players and you're making mistakes, but you're able to recover from those mistakes, or the other team capitalizes on them.
Definitely. And for the listeners at home, Mel's talking to Misfit in chat. He does a podcast called Overtakes, also on the Overwatch League. So definitely check that out.
You
But
don't have to check it out. It was really
my point,
horrible analysis of
Mel.
Houston.
My point wasn't the mistakes made during the match. My point was how impactful mistakes in the last few seconds of many Overwatch matches are. Those are the times where people have to really be like you have to
Crunch
change your entire crunch time. I like it. You have to change your entire mentality about what you do. Like saving a shatter, worthless. Shatter that one person. You don't need something big. You need something now. And so that's what I was talking about. Like 2 different matches in that 5-match set that really
I mean, the same thing with
capitalized on those
Jaxei.
mistakes at the very end.
The same thing with Jaxei popping his beat too early in Ilios,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like right before the Nanoblade. You know, like those types of things are things that they will learn from to help them get better. But let's not minimize the fact that these 2 teams actually did what was best for their team. Like,
Which
we
I would
didn't
argue
see them
everybody should do.
play. I agree. We didn't see them play mere match of what the meta quote unquote should have been. We
And I
saw
mean-
them play Doomfist because Blase is a god on Doomfist. And I will tell you, there was one time where Blase was clicked on McCree, and I was like, I swear to God, if you put that man in on McCree, I will riot.
That was
I will
on
riot hardcore.
That was on Eichenwald.
Yes, it was on Eichenwald, and I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. They ended up not doing it. Thank
Well,
God.
and
Thankfully.
you saw me screaming at the TV map 5 when Dallas has Brig and
Lucio.
and Lucio in, and I told you I'm convinced the closer can't play anything but Lucio. Like he looked like shit on Brig when he played on Route 66. He ended up switching back to Lucio, but I was just like, there's not enough healing. But
Which is when they won.
still
They won
pulled
when
it
he
through.
switched back to Lucio. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I went back and watched the VOD with Jake, right?
Yeah.
They won when they switched
And
back
I
to
told
Lucio,
you he was
and they
looking
came around.
he was looking like crap on Brigitte, and he's an amazing Lucio, but I'm pretty sure he's a one trick.
Brig also does surprisingly more healing than you think. Like that's one thing too. Like Brig can do so much healing
If
in the right
played
situation.
right
But not
in the
against
right comp,
dive.
yeah.
And not burst heal. Like she has 1 burst heal, but it's on a cooldown, right?
Which
And
usually
against
for dives she's using for offensive capabilities, not to
Using it
really
on a
save
tracer, yeah.
people, you know.
Yeah,
right.
gives
And
that
against
extra
dive,
armor.
she's not getting the like cleave, whatever her heal is when she hits people.
Right.
But
But it does also. She works sort of like an anti-dive though too. So like if you
Mhm.
try to dive the Lucio or whatever backline they have, then you're gonna get stunned, and the Brig's gonna start healing those around. So it has its place, but it is
For sure.
like.
but I
It
think
is
Brig and
risk-
Anna
Mm-hmm. Brig and Anna
is-
is really good. Yeah.
much better than Brig Lucio.
It depends because the speed.
It does.
Speed is
I know
so
the speed.
important. It's
It does,
so
and it
important.
depends on the situation. But I think that
Yeah.
you put in Brig Lucio, and you have to be ready to win that fight quickly, because you're not going to have the sustain that the other team's going to have with an Anna.
But we're going back to your point with teams playing what they're best at, whereas
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
think closer can play anything else as good.
Okay, can we just for a second praise Jaxei? Because 1, I love him, and I think
Jaxei
he's the
Repel is really
cutest
good.
person. No, I just love Jaxei. I mean,
You
Repel's
like
fine.
Swerve.
Whatever.
This is
But
not praise
Jaxei-
Houston week. This is
yes,
praise.
it is. It is.
This is
Jaxei
praise fuel
is,
week.
First of all,
Dallas.
the cutest person ever, because he's just so sweet. And second of all, he is like when Blase was on McCree, who's the one killing the other McCree? Freaking Jaxei, obviously, because Blase can't do it, right? I love you, Blase. Your Doomfist is great. Don't go on McCree. But like
Yeah,
Jaxei,
just
even
play
in this match,
Doomfist, dude. Just
Yeah.
play Doomfist, and if Fair ever comes back, you're pretty good at that too.
But what I want to point out is Jaxei on this map was a rockstar Brigitte and a rockstar Lucio. He got boops galore when boops were a thing. And on Brigitte, he protected Repel like nobody's business. Like, there are times where Jexay and Repel should have died without doubt, and they didn't. And I think that is a lot on Jexay. I think Repel's very, very good too, but I think Jexay is a very good player.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are a really good support combo. You feel for those support boys a little bit with the situation that Houston has been in at times, for sure. I'm just happy that they're starting to play Jexay and Repel together again. Like, I think that was a nice step in the right direction. I think the one thing that Houston misses more than anything else is having somebody to fill the gap in heroes between Blase and Dante. Like, Linkser's supposed to be that guy, and like, he's been that at times, but he hasn't been the reliable guy that you think Linkser can be. So,
to be fair, they
it hurts them.
ban Widow and McCree like every other week, so Linkser can't really play anything.
Well, and I would make the argument, like I have before online games even happened. I said Widow's going to get a ton less playtime. And what's happened? Widow's gotten a ton less playtime because LAN. It's a very big difference. 20 ping as opposed to 0 ping. Widow loses a lot of value.
Yeah, and I think just knowing that from the other end, there's a lot more chance to it, right? Like, sometimes your shot's going to hit and sometimes you're going to get hit instead. And I think that there's a lot more of that. But I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought because Bob brought up LAN.
Yeah, you're just praising Houston way too much for the losers. They're losers.
Okay. It came down to the third round on the 5th map. So don't act like you dominated that.
Because we are the champions.
We can sing some of the praises of Dallas, though. Like, you have to. Takei and Doha is good.
Unreal, dude.
They are. That's bad English. Is good. They are good. They're really good combo together, for sure.
And Doha, I thought, started out the season shaky. Like, they were talking about how good his Sombra was in contenders, and I was like, well, if you like a Sombra to save their ultimate for 5 team fights, I guess so. But, it was just like...
That might not be on him, though, too.
Yeah, he just wasn't clicking. Like, the team just wasn't clicking. And now he's clicking... He looks good, man. He looks really good. And Decay, of course. I mean, Decay is making a case for MVP of the league. If Dallas were to win the tournament and get those 3 wins and move up, I mean, Decay could definitely get that.
That would have to happen, though, because I feel like the front runners...
because the winners always get the MVP. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, the front runners are on teams like Shanghai and New York and Carpe.
I do still think Dante's a better Sombra than Doha, though.
I think, although I don't think Carpe has it at the moment. I think Alarm has it at the moment for MVP.
For Rookie of the... No, that'd be... He's going to win Rookie of the Year. It's going to be like that.
Yeah, but I think you could still be Rookie of the Year and be MVP also. I mean, Patrick Mahomes did it.
I don't think they're going to do that, though. I still think Carpe would get it over Alarm on that team because Carpe's had such big moments as far as MVP. But, like, as far as, like, Rookie of the Year, I think Alarm might be is definitely one of your front runners. Like, you could even say Funny Astro is on that short list, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, I think them together, it's kind of like when the NFL is given... like MVPs to the defense of like the Patriots and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think them together is like an unbelievable pair.
There's other guys though that I would think that on some of the other teams you could maybe consider for it too. Like I think Hawk is definitely somebody who's been really good. There's a couple others that, I mean, Eggsy till he was injured.
The neck injury.
Hanbin, though. Hanbin is so good, too.
Wait, what happened? God. We were singing the praises of Dallas.
But saying
Yeah,
back to the,
we
we started
quickly
talking about Rookie of the Year.
we quickly went away from that because we
Dallas,
don't need to do that.
Decay and Doha though are super good. I think the biggest thing too is like the tank line seems to have stabilized for Dallas. Like that to me was like their biggest issue was the tanks. Like because I think
Their
Crimso.
support is their
Well, and-
Wrong.
huge downfall.
And note, I don't think Crimso's been bad.
I
Like,
think Crimso and Closer have been fine.
I
Like,
think
don't think they've been terrible.
Closer. I
They're
think
their weak link.
they're getting
100%.
Closer better. Closer has just a bad problem with just taking 1v1s with people and just not coming back to the team. Like he's at least all season 2, he had a real problem with that. But I also think note, like Diva One Trick Extraordinaire has shown that boy, he can play Sigma, and he actually looked good on Zarya this, against Houston. So
Looked
it's
better than
not
he has
like
before, yeah.
yeah, like but I mean, the first week he looked
Excuse
like
me?
an idiot on Zarya. I mean, he had great charge, but couldn't put out damage to save his life, Like, so he was like a defensive Zarya with no damage. Great bubbles, but no follow-up. But he's looked really good.
Yeah, that's one thing about Houston is Meko. I'm not sure about him on other heroes. We haven't seen a lot of him on Sigma, and when Sigma should have been a better play. And what we have seen on Zarya, to be fair, the team was really failing when we were playing Zarya. So it's hard to say if that was him not playing well or whatever, but he wasn't enabling the team like he does on Diva. And on Diva, he's a monster. On Diva, he flanks the correct way. He eats ults like crazy. It's just a monster. But when Diva's not the pick,
He ate a lot of ults this game too.
yeah, he ate a lot of blizzards, which is huge.
Yeah,
All right, well, go. Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say, Meko's okay. Like he's not the problem, Like that's one thing for sure.
Who are you saying is the problem?
Well, we'll find out next week. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I think it's more of the main
Gap.
tank. I think you still have to, like Muma will play great, and then he will play terrible, and then I think the gap between the DPS you need something between Blase and Dante.
Yeah,
to fill
the
those
gap
other holes.
is definitely real.
I will say though, it was like crystal clear. Dallas had the problem that Houston had last year, where our Sombra player was our Tracer player. Or I don't know when this was. Yeah, I think stage 4 maybe, where Sombra and Tracer was like a big thing. Am I imagining that?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
I think
But
so.
I know what you're talking about. It's what we talked about during the game. Like,
okay, well, Sombra and Tracer are Dante's heroes, right? And he was able to play one of them, but then we had to fill in the other one, right? And Dallas was having this problem where Doha was their Sombra and their Doomfist player.
we couldn't do that. So we had to do Genji.
Play Sombra Doomfist as effectively as we could play Sombra Doomfist because we had Dante on Sombra and Blase on Doomfist.
And Dante, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it right now. Dante is hands down the best Sombra in the league. That dude uses his ult, and before the fight that he uses his ult in is over, he has 50% charge to his next hack, his next EMP. It's uncanny.
Which is a lot about the team play too, though. Capitalizing on the ult. Because if you use your ult and your team doesn't capitalize on it, you don't get that ult charge.
Yeah, I think it's just he's using it, and whereas a lot of other Sombras will recall right after that to save it, he's staying in the fight and shooting.
Yeah, he's very good.
But we're running a little long, so we're gonna move on to the bans for next week. So bans for next week are McCree, Widowmaker, Wrecking Ball, and Mercy.
Who's playing Mercy, first of all?
Please play Mercy for me.
Well,
we will need her on this map. Did you guys ever hear that YouTube song? That was so good.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
I'll have to send it to you after the cast.
The
Okay,
fair
my
is gone.
question more about these bans are: do you think that any of the OWL teams will be ballsy enough to play Echo this next week, the first week she's available, without a Mercy?
Somebody's got to. Somebody has to do it. At least
Chengdu.
one team.
Chengdu.
I don't know if they do
100%.
it without Mercy, though. I mean,
Chengdu.
she
Chengdu will do
empowers
it.
that so much.
But you also don't have McCree or Widow. So
I mean, I wonder. They're gonna play a ground echo, is what they're gonna do. They're just gonna stay on the ground the entire
not?
time. And
I mean,
just
you could even
escape
go up
with
and you can go up into the air and nobody's gonna shoot you.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just about that. It's about her charging the ult and everything
know.
else.
My
But-
question is this going to be a theme where the hit scans get banned and Mercy gets banned, and then next week there's a lot of Mercy Echo play, or there's a lot of Mercy Pharah play, and then they ban Echo? You know what I mean? Like, is it just going to go back and forth where we're never going to get to see Mercy and Echo?
I don't know what it's going to do because I don't even know why Mercy's in this pool and even being talked about on the OWL scene. I can't believe Wrecking Ball got banned. Widow was barely played this week at OWL.
Yep.
Like,
And she's banned.
Do you think that this takes Al into account at all?
Doesn't feel like it.
It definitely doesn't weight.
I don't think it does.
Like, I was thinking when they said that ladder and pro play were going to be, I thought pro play would be weighted like 50%, 60%, 70%, but it looks like it's just straight up diamond and up.
When they post them, it says on there high level competitive play. Now,
And
what
I
does
mean,
that mean?
diamond is, I mean, if you look at percentages, diamond
I'm
is
saying,
high level
does
play.
that- Do you think high level competitive play includes OWL?
I don't know. It should, for God's
should be
sake,
weighted
it
where-
should.
I agree with you that it should be weighted to where Overwatch League matters more.
Either
Like-
that or just don't combine them. Like, I just think it's ridiculous that you get a hero pool in OWL that has McCree or has Widow and Mercy banned when we maybe saw them for 3 minutes.
Yeah, we saw
Mercy,
more
we saw a good
Wrecking
amount
Ball
of.
than Mercy
We
or
saw
Widow.
Mercy in the Asian games. I didn't watch all the Asian games.
Well, because there's a bunch of teams that played Pharah. So any team that played
Yeah,
Pharah,
the
there's
Asian
Mercy.
teams played fair, but the
Yeah.
NA
I don't think the NA
really
teams did at
didn't.
all.
Yeah, I don't
not
think
really.
the NA's really. Yeah, NA teams really.
I don't
didn't,
even think
but, like,
once.
Yeah,
now that I'm
there's,
thinking about it.
which is a
Mm-mm.
little bit of surprise that people are so. Pharah's strong. I don't get why they wouldn't. It's just weird to me.
And Rogue and
Yeah.
Roadhog, Misfit talking into the chat. Roadhog, 20% play. I
My favorite was
guarantee you
Custer
that
going,
it's not even just
"Who?"
GM. Yeah,
Because
because
like, who is playing Roadhog in ranked?
yeah,
Who is
because
this?
I guarantee you
Who
there's
are
no
these people?
20% pick rate in GM for Roadhog. Now Diamond, definitely
I was
Diamond.
gonna say,
it up.
I think they got plat and gold in there if it's Roadhog at that high.
Seriously though, like
There,
seriously.
dude, there are some nuts Roadhog Diamond players. And Diamond is like a lot of really mechanically skilled people that don't understand the game as well as masters and GMs.
Mechanical idiots, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean mechanical idiots can jack other mechanical idiots up on Roadhog. That is definitely true.
Oh man,
Harblu
All right.
taught us that.
we have to get out of here.
All right. We'll just move on to quick predictions for next week. Guangzhou Charge Seoul.
So
Soul.
New York Excel Dragons.
Shanghai.
I'm gonna say Shanghai too.
Hope it'll be a good match, but
I think
who
it
knows?
will be.
Yeah, I can't vote against Shanghai at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if New York won though.
Yeah,
I would be actually at this point. But your boys in blue, the Dallas Fuel or the Washington Justice?
Dallas.
unfortunately, I have to pick Dallas.
Big D, baby.
You don't have to pick them just because you're
I
wearing
mean,
the
that's
hat.
just stupid not to.
The
Like-
Atlanta Raid versus Valiant.
Atlanta.
I think Elena will bring it back.
I do too. San Francisco versus the Houston Outlaws.
Houston will
res-
definitely win this.
I respect it, but San Francisco.
No.
SF,
Houston.
dude. SF.
Houston. If Houston wins this, Bob has to
No,
wear
I'm not making a
green.
bet. I already won the bet.
whatever.
That's a good gambler. Get out when you're hot.
All right. The Guangzhou Spark Seoul Dynasty.
Hangzhou Spark, not Guangzhou. Hangzhou.
I said Hangzhou. The
Seoul.
Hangzhou Spark.
Seoul.
Guang.
Wait,
I'm
what'd you say?
going Seoul.
Seoul.
Seoul. Okay.
Yeah.
New York versus the Hunters. Now, there's no ball, remember.
Come on.
It's
Oh,
not
there's no
definite.
ball.
New
Okay, I
York.
gotta go New York. I was gonna go Chengdu, but Echo's coming out. I'm gonna go Chengdu. I believe in them.
Yeah, stay in New York.
And stay in New York, too.
Come on, Chengdu's gonna bring out Echo, and New York's
What
gonna
is
be
it?
like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Just because my heart wants something different doesn't mean my mind's gonna let me say the wrong choice.
my mind lets me do whatever.
My heart's telling me yes, but my body's... I know, but my mind's telling me... I don't know. All right. Philly versus Paris.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philly.
Wait, Boston versus Miami?
Yep, it's again.
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 It's Florida.
Mhm.
Yeah. again.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Guess what? I think
Obviously,
Boston's gonna
Boston.
lose. Shocker. Hey,
These-
PSA to Toronto and Gladiators, be ready for your match early because it's probably not going to be that long.
These are becoming really easy to predict. That's unfortunate. We're going away from what we had.
I'm actually
Prior.
picking Florida, obviously. I was joking.
Yeah,
about
me,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
me
yeah,
too.
yeah. Florida's definitely going to win.
All right, Defiant Gladiators.
Gladiators.
Yeah, I'm going.
Defiance
Gladiators,
just
too.
struggling. Although, I don't know. Surefour could come out with some crazy Echo strats, but
Yeah, that's
Without
the
a
only
Mercy, I
catalyst
just-
that I'm seeing. Like, Surefour could be Echo crazy, but with no mercy, I don't think this is the
Hot
week
take, I
Surefour
don't
shows it off.
anybody, but maybe Chengdu is going to play Echo. I mean, come on, these teams.
I don't know, man. The teams that have nothing to lose, maybe. I don't know.
But who
I'm
has
going
nothing to
Gladiators
lose?
too.
Nobody has okay, Boston, but I don't see them pulling out a strat. But none of the other teams have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. All right, well,
I hope I see it, but we're probably not.
I hope we see Echo too. I really do.
we had a good show. But we're going to close it out. We're going to end it for tonight. All right, guys. If you want to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at... Oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
At Al
Al
Recap.
Recap. Yep. If you want to check us out on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Al Recap. If you want to check us out on YouTube and see our ugly faces and Mel's beautiful face, you can do that at youtube.com/Al Recap. If you want to send a longer email, contact at alrecap.com. If you want to join our Discord, you can do so at discord.me/OmnicLab. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Mel, where can we find you?
Find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
And Labasco, where can we find you?
At Labasco, you'll see me posting about whatever dumb things I'm doing as far as broadcasting or whatever I'm talking about, The Last Dance or whatever is grabbing my interest at that time or whatever stupid.
Not the
tweet
Tiger
I'm reading.
King, apparently.
Oh God, the Tiger Kings. That I could not. I couldn't sit and watch it. They were so bad. The people. I was just like, I can't take it. I'm done. I'm out.
Okay, I'm taking this hat off because the show's technically over, right?
Nope.
It's like hurting my head. It's like burning into me.
And
Big
if
giant logo.
you want to find me and be there for all my stupid mishaps on Twitter. You can do so at Blazzin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. We want to thank you guys. Thank chat for coming in. Thank everybody. We'll see you next week. If I can change the scene, it will be over.